Let's break down tariffs, something that sounds complex but actually affects every one of us, whether we realize it or not. Tariffs might seem like a topic for economists or politicians, but they play a role in our daily routines, from the food we eat to the cars we drive and the clothes we wear. A tariff is basically a tax placed on goods that are brought into a country from abroad. Think of it as a fee that the government charges whenever something crosses the border and enters the U.S. from another nation. When products like electronics, cars, or even food items arrive at our borders, the government can decide to add this extra cost, a tariff, making those imported goods more expensive than they would be otherwise. This process happens every day, often without us noticing. But why do governments do this? The main reason is to protect American businesses and workers. By making foreign goods cost more, tariffs help local companies compete and encourage people to buy products made in the U.S. It's a way to support jobs and industries here at home. Sometimes tariffs are also used as a tool for the government to raise money. Every time a tariff is collected, it adds to the country's revenue, helping to fund public services and infrastructure. But here's the catch. While tariffs might help some businesses, the extra cost usually gets passed on to us, the consumers. That means we end up paying more for the things we buy, even if we don't realize it at first. For example, if there's a tariff on foreign cars or clothes, you'll notice higher prices at the dealership or the mall. The same goes for electronics, shoes, or even groceries. Tariffs can make all sorts of everyday items more expensive. These price increases can ripple through the entire economy, affecting what we pay for everything from breakfast cereal to smartphones. Over time, even small tariffs can add up, changing our spending habits and stretching our budgets. Decisions made in Washington, D.C., sometimes with just a signature, can change the price tags we see at the store, often overnight. That's how closely global politics and our everyday lives are connected. That's why tariffs matter. They're not just about international trade or government policy. They connect global politics directly to our wallets, influencing what we can afford and how we live. And right now, a new tariff is about to hit two things many Americans rely on every single morning: coffee and orange juice. These aren't just any products, they're staples that start our day. Coffee and orange juice, icons of the American breakfast, are about to get a lot more expensive. The next time you pour your morning cup or reach for a glass of juice, you might notice the difference. Let's find out why this is happening and what it means for all of us. Because this isn't just about economics or trade policy, it's about our daily lives, our routines, and the simple pleasures we sometimes take for granted. Picture your morning: coffee brewing, orange juice pouring. The aroma of fresh coffee fills the air, while the vibrant color of orange juice brightens your table. These simple pleasures are more than just a way to start the day. They're a comforting ritual, a moment of calm before the rush begins. These aren't just drinks, they're rituals for millions of Americans. Every morning, families gather around the table, sharing stories and plans over these familiar flavors. Coffee and orange juice are woven into the fabric of our daily lives, connecting generations and creating memories. But have you ever wondered where they come from? The journey from farm to cup, from grove to glass, is longer and more complex than you might think. The answer is often Brazil. This vast country, with its rich soil and ideal climate, is the heart of global coffee and orange production. Brazil is a global agricultural powerhouse, supplying much of the world's coffee and orange juice. Its farms stretch for miles, producing the beans and fruit that fuel our mornings. For decades, the U.S. and Brazil have traded these goods, creating a partnership that ends at your kitchen table. Ships cross oceans, carrying the harvests that become part of your daily routine. American companies depend on Brazil's massive production to keep prices affordable and shelves stocked. Without this steady supply, our favorite breakfast staples would be harder to find, and much more expensive. This relationship has quietly fueled our mornings for years. It's a connection most of us never think about, but one that shapes our daily lives in countless ways. But now, a new policy threatens to disrupt this steady flow. Changes in trade agreements and tariffs could slow shipments, raise costs, and create uncertainty for businesses and families alike. A major change is coming that could shake up this essential connection. The impact could be felt in every grocery store, every cafe, and every home across the country. The result? A crisis that could touch every community in America. From big cities to small towns, everyone relies on these imports to keep their mornings running smoothly. When the source of your morning routine is threatened, everyone feels it. The absence of these staples would be more than an inconvenience. It would be a disruption to the rhythm of daily life. Let's see what's at stake. The story of your breakfast is about to get a lot more complicated. Because this isn't just about trade, it's about what's on your table and the unseen connections that make every morning possible. On July 10, 2025, President Trump announced a massive tariff hike on all Brazilian imports, from 10% to a staggering 50%. This five-fold increase is set to take effect August 1st, giving businesses little time to adjust. The move targets Brazil more harshly than any other country, citing political disputes and digital trade issues. It's a bold use of economic power to send a political message, but the immediate effect? Brazilian goods, especially coffee and orange juice, are about to get much more expensive for Americans. This isn't just politics, it's a shockwave that will hit our wallets. Let's see how deep this impact goes. The numbers tell the story. 1/3 of all U.S. coffee comes from Brazil. In 2024, Brazil shipped over 8 million bags of coffee to the U.S., a 30% jump from the year before. For orange juice, the dependence is even greater. Over half of what we drink is imported from Brazil. Florida's orange groves have been devastated by disease and storms, making us more reliant on Brazil than ever. Major coffee chains and juice brands have built their businesses on this steady supply. Brazil's scale keeps prices down and shelves full. That's why a 50% tariff is so dangerous. It's not a luxury tax, it's a hit to everyday essentials. When your main supplier suddenly gets much more expensive, it's not just a problem, it's a crisis. This is the reality facing American businesses and families. The stakes couldn't be higher. Let's look at what happens next. Imagine waking up to a world where your morning coffee and breakfast juice are suddenly out of reach. A 50% tariff on a third of our coffee and half our orange juice means one thing. Prices will soar, and not just by a little. The cost of your daily essentials could jump overnight, making a simple cup of coffee or glass of orange juice feel like a luxury. Industry experts agree, neither Brazilian exporters nor U.S. companies can absorb this cost. The burden will fall squarely on consumers, forcing everyone to rethink their grocery lists. The result? Higher prices at every step, from importers to your local grocery store. Every link in the supply chain will feel the squeeze, and shoppers will be hit hardest. Coffee prices already jumped 70% last year. This tariff will push them even higher. Cafes and restaurants may have to raise their prices or shrink their menus, and your favorite brew could become a rare treat. Orange juice, with U.S. supply at record lows, could become a luxury item. Families may start skipping it altogether, and breakfast tables across the country will look very different. But it's not just about price. There could be real shortages. Imagine walking into your local store and finding entire shelves empty, with no sign of when they'll be restocked. If Brazilian coffee becomes too expensive, producers will sell elsewhere, leaving U.S. shelves empty. Other countries will gladly buy what we can't afford, and American consumers will be left searching for alternatives. Other countries like Colombia or Vietnam can't fill the gap overnight. Their production is already stretched, and ramping up takes years, not months. The same goes for orange juice. No instant replacement exists. Domestic growers are struggling and global supplies are tight. We're facing a classic supply and demand crisis, and we're on the losing end. Prices will rise, choices will shrink, and frustration will grow. The impact will be felt in every grocery aisle. From beverages to baked goods, the ripple effect will touch nearly every product that relies on these key ingredients. This isn't just inconvenience, it's a fundamental change to what we can buy. For many, it means making tough choices and giving up everyday comforts. The ripple effects will be hard to ignore. Families will have to stretch their budgets further, and the conversation about food prices will become a daily reality. Let's hear what the experts are saying about how this crisis could reshape our shopping habits and our tables. Industry leaders are sounding the alarm. This tariff could be catastrophic. Coffee analysts say a 50% tariff will halt Brazilian coffee imports. The math just doesn't work. Roasters and retailers can't absorb the cost, and the supply chain could break. Juice producers echo the warning, with U.S. orange production at an 88-year low. We're more dependent on Brazil than ever. This tariff is a direct tax on American families, says one industry spokesperson. Experts stress that other countries can't fill the gap. Brazil is the supertanker, others are speedboats. You can't replace a supertanker overnight. The result? higher prices, fewer choices, and major disruption to daily life. This isn't just about business, it's about food security and family budgets. The people who know this industry best are united. This policy will hurt American consumers. The warnings are clear, the consequences are real, and the clock is ticking. Not everyone opposes the new tariff. While coffee and juice industries are worried, some American cattle ranchers are celebrating. They've long complained about cheap Brazilian beef undercutting their prices. Groups like RCAF USA say the tariff finally levels the playing field for U.S. ranchers. For them, it's not about coffee. It's about protecting their livelihoods. This creates a divided house. Food and beverage industries see disaster, while cattle and steel see opportunity. One group's crisis is another's victory. Tariffs create winners and losers, sometimes within the same country. The debate is fierce and the stakes are personal. Let's see how Brazil is responding. Brazil's response was swift. President Lula condemned the tariff as a political attack. He threatened retaliation using Brazil's new economic reciprocity law, promising a 50% tariff on U.S. goods. This tit-for-tat could quickly spiral into a trade war, hurting businesses and consumers in both countries. American products in Brazil, machinery, electronics, agriculture, would become much more expensive. President Trump has already threatened more tariffs in response. It's a cycle of escalation where everyone loses. Brazil even recalled its ambassador from Washington, a sign of deepening tensions. Markets reacted nervously, with Brazil's currency and stock market dropping. The world is watching to see if diplomacy can break the deadlock. The stakes are high for both economies. A trade war could have lasting consequences. We're in a tense waiting period. What does this mean for you? So, what does all this mean for your daily life? If the 50% tariff takes effect, you'll see higher prices at the grocery store, especially for coffee and orange juice. Your morning cup and glass could become luxuries, not staples. Brands that rely on Brazilian imports like Folgers, Starbucks, Tropicana will all cost more. Families on tight budgets may have to cut back on these everyday items. When essentials get pricier, tough choices follow. This is a direct hit to American wallets driven by international politics. It's a reminder of how global events shape our routines and budgets. A dispute thousands of miles away can change your breakfast tomorrow. If the tariff continues, expect higher costs, fewer choices, and more strain on family budgets. The impact is real, and it's personal. That's why this story matters to all of us.